Hey there, so today we have another beer talk, and this is a fun one. I don't know if you guys are industry people. I assume most, actually, funny enough, actually, most of the people that are, almost all the people that watch my videos, I believe, are not industry people, which is pretty interesting. Being an industry person myself, former certified cicerone, now advanced cicerone, it'd be really nice to know more people that were in the industry sort of like watch my videos, but I guess they don't because they have better things to do. Unlike me, a lot of people don't do beer stuff outside their job, but I guess this is my beer related thing outside work. So this is about sort of like questions that I get in my line of work, and obviously I've worked like a lot of places in my life. Probably a lot of moving around. Like, I've actually moved around the industry quite a bit, probably to the detriment of my resume, but it sort of helped me gain experience, and I made the moves that I want to make, and that's always important, right? Like, don't keep a job just because like it's better for your resume because they see you stayed there longer. Like, I'm always looking to move on and evolve, right? And obviously, like now in my job, I've been there for almost, I've been 3.5 to almost 4 years. So it's easily the longest tenure I've had at any of my jobs, like double, probably. Yeah, double my longest job. So pretty cool that I'm at my job right now. It's called Sanford Brewing, by the way, if you don't know. And I've had all kinds of different questions in my past, but this is my experience of what I've noticed people ask for in my front of house facing kind of like bartender server kind of interaction. It's always interesting. I find it very interesting, the kind of questions I get asked. So to give you a preface, this is sort of a brew pub style model. So not really taproom model where everybody's like lining up for like hazy cans and all that kind of stuff. It's more, easily over 50% of our sales is, probably 55 or something like that is food. The rest is going to be beer, wine, and then we actually recently added on liquor. And it is more for locals, non-beer geeks, beer adjacent people. Some people like come here or I could hear like my job, right? Come here specifically for a beer experience, but not necessarily like, hey, we don't really sell that many flights. We'll probably sell, for me personally, I'll probably sell like a flight per shift at best, so it's really not, most tap rooms like flights, hazy cans, lineup, fruited sours, like all that crazy stuff. We're not doing that. More pedestrian styles of beer. Some people just show up because it's a restaurant, but a lot of people show up just because it is beer adjacent. I can get a decent beer and a meal, and right, like that kind of like middling kind of like, you don't have to be a craft beer expert, but like sort of like beer, but like right, like that kind of like, what I'm talking about. I think you guys have some clue of what I'm talking about. Where you're like, you somewhat know about a little bit about beer, but not too much, and like you're not really seeking out and going crazy, like traveling and trading for treehouse and stuff. You're just sort of into beer and maybe okay with it, but just want to get a meal, or you want to get out with your kids and get them some food and get yourself some food and get a couple pints of beer, right? That kind of like scene. So early on, the big ones I was got was, hey, do you have something amber? I was always curious what they meant by amber, but I think down here in Florida, and this is again specifically to my work, like my position. That's why I sort of guys try to tell you guys about what my excuse me, position in like what kind of setting I have. A lot of people ask for ambers, and I think it's because this state actually, I believe, produces. This state actually produces Yingling, and I think a lot of people just drink Yingling. So a lot of people are looking for a Yingling style beer. The other one I also got was the one that stuck with me. It wasn't that popular, but always stuck out when people asked it. It wasn't like every day. It was like maybe like once a month or once a quarter, right? But even if somebody asks you that specifically, it's, do you have a Kolsch? And I'm like, who the hell's making a Kolsch? Like, do you guys even know what a Kolsch is? Like, so I actually never went push back on that and asked them why they asked for Kolsch, but I was just confused because like no Florida brewery is associating with Kolsch. Like, I don't know any, like, I don't know. The fact that they knew about Kolsch is just weird to me. Like, it's such a specific style from Germany, but obviously some brewery was producing Kolsch, or they went to another brewery that produced Kolsch. I don't know. Back in 2020, 2021, everybody's asking for a Kolsch. I don't know why. What are the other crazy questions that I get all the time? So now, coming towards like more popular, now I get a lot of questions that are going to be macro beer. A lot of people ask for macro beer. Literally, like, hey, like the restaurant's literally called Sanford Brewing Company. It's a satellite location called Maitland. Sanford Brewing Company, Maitland. But it's Sanford Brewing Company, so it's a brewing company. But like, you know, I have people say, hey, can I get a Bud Light? Can I get a Mick Ultra? Like stuff like that. I'm like, I'm sorry. So that's an awkward one. One of the easily biggest ones, like citrus. I am still not quite sure what they mean by citrus. And I think the big brand that they're looking for is Blue Moon. Blue Moon must just crush down here because everybody's looking for something with citrus in it. And we don't brew a beer with citrus in it. So I push them towards our Hefeweizen, which is a, fluffy wheat beer, blah, blah, like, adjacent to like, fit beer, blah, blah, and no citrus in it. But a lot of citrus this, citrus that. I don't know, like, I guess it's smart for, Bell's right here. Citrus sweet. That's what they're looking for. Citrus. Yeah, citrus. And the thing is, like, is Blue Moon really that citrusy? I don't know. Maybe I should re-review it. But like, what is so important about a citrus beer? I don't know. And not even orange. It's a citrus. They say citrus or orange or something like that. I don't know why that adjective is, filled into the, craftish vernacular. But oof, I don't know. What else do I get? I get people ask for lagers sometimes. Unfortunately, we don't have we're a small brewery that doesn't make. And we make a decent amount of beer, but like I think we have 30 barrel system, but we don't really have much time to be lagering. So our flagship beer is sort of like it's ale fermented, but it's the closest thing you get to it pretty much tastes like a lager. So I give them that. But a lot of people ask for lager, so that's an easy question. What else do people ask for? A popular beer actually. Strangely enough, people ask for something close to OBP. Yeah. Orange Blossom Pilsner. I actually forget what brewery down here makes it, but it's an Orange Blossom Honey Pilsner. So they're looking for a lager with honey, blah, blah. So they're looking for like a lager, pretty much. Oh, yeah. Another popular one, Hazy's. So early on when we opened up, no questions about that, or few. Now it's got more and more popular. So we actually do rotate a Hazy IPA that we produce. Unfortunately with the beer, though, So one of the problems when you have a small production facility is that having a colloidal haze stability is actually quite hard. Like somehow, a lot of breweries are figured out, and like we don't do those crazy murky hazy IPAs. Like ours, like when it's turned up, can be a little bit hazy. But I think it's part of it is like we just have to flip the kegs. Like I believe one of the old stories is that Sierra Nevada's Kellerweiss used to be, which was their take on Hefeweizen, used to be shipped upside down. So when you got it delivered and you tap the keg, you'd actually have to flip the freaking 200-pound keg, which is not not possible. You just have to flip it, and it would shake up everything in there and get all that. I guess, and Kellerweiss has got to be wheat and yeast and stuff, but obviously, ideally, with the hazy IPA, it should be just the proteins and the polyphenols of the hops. So we don't flip our kegs, unfortunately. Actually, when I worked at Lipsis, we would shake our kegs and flip our kegs because it really helped the mouthfeel and the appearance of the beer. And obviously, it's a hazy brewery. You should really make sure you're doing that because, you don't want your regulars, because we had a lot of regulars that would show up. And like day 1, day 3, day 5, the beer would look different and taste different. That's not okay. You want it to be consistent. So unfortunately, like our hazy IPA can be hazy-ish to clear, which is a little bit awkward when I dropped that pint off and they were like, I ordered a hazy IPA. I'm like, promise you this is a hazy IPA. It's going to be soft on bitterness. It's going to be quite aromatic, but it's not going to be hazy because, obviously we just didn't flip the keg. And again, it's so hard to keep a stable haze in these beers. I actually don't know the tricks. At my expertise, I don't specifically know the tricks, but flipping kegs is definitely the easy way to do it. So what other beers do people ask for? They'll ask for dark beer, so thankfully I have a porter sometimes. I'm trying to think of my tap list. Sours. People ask for sours, so thankfully we make an Imperial Berliner Weiss raspberry, which is quite tasty. It's actually my favorite beer on draft, so people ask for sours sometimes. I'm trying to think of weird questions. Oh well, the big one is like if somebody asks for something I don't have on draft, I'll try to steer them through our. We don't have that many can bottle options. Maybe a dozen. We have a dozen taps and maybe a dozen, maybe more than a dozen. Just right over a dozen can or bottle options. But a lot of people say no. There's a misconception that for some reason draft beer is just straight up better. So people make that mistake. But then some people just like, we want your beer, right? Obviously, if you go to Sanford Brewing Company, you're gonna like drink Sanford beer, not like another brewery's beer. So like, it sort of makes sense. So, not too much weird questions, yeah. 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 Oh, Guinness. Some people want something like Guinness. I steer them towards our porters. Those are darkest beer. It's pretty good. You want roast? I got roast for you, right? Like, okay, there you go. These are the funny questions I get. So, you guys post in comments below. What kind of like, I mean, you guys are like, even if you don't work in the industry, you've like seen people, you have friends and families and been at tap rooms and breweries. Like, what kind of weird questions do you guys get? What are the most consistent questions? I mean, obviously, like, you guys have like other people that are adjacent to beer that ask you questions. What kind of questions do they ask you? These are the questions that I get asked. So, do you get an amber? Do you have, oh, sorry, do you have an amber? Do you have a citrus beer? Do you have a lager? What's on draft? Like, that's another weird question. Like, hey, don't look at menus. What's on draft? Thanks. Makes my job very easy, right? Yeah, there you go. Maybe quite a few. And oh yeah, do you have a hazy IPA? Do you have sour? Like, pretty standard questions, but a couple of those are funky for me. Like, Kolsch. I wish I pushed back. Like, what Kolsch are you asking about? Because like, I assume they're not asking about Fuhr, Graffel, or Reisdorf. Like, they're not asking about the big guys like that actually come to America. I think there's only 4 brands that come to America, like of the actual Kolsch breweries. I don't know. Until next time, I cheers. Post in the comments about your reactions to this, and also like what questions you guys come up with or run into. Cheers later.